Hoping Jason's, yeah, there he is. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So, good morning or good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I will start off the meeting by saying that I actually have COVID right at the moment. And so if I'm not tremendously organized and clear, it could be partly that. But
well, thanks for doing this, Mary.
Start taking extra precautions because I contacted my doctor and the doctor's office I used to work for and the general consensus is that COVID is on the rise for sure. So of my family, 4 people have already gotten it. So
that's not good. That's not good.
One
all right.
of them was my 7-year-old granddaughter who actually started it all after a visit to a child's birthday party. So,
yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Well, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good to keep in mind. Good safety moment for all of us.
Great. Kelly, did you want to do roll call?
Sure. And just as a reminder during roll call, also your opportunity, if you have anything to share on your community, feel free to do so. Brad. I don't see him. Christina. Connie.
I'm present.
Dan Brown.
Dan's here.
Danielle Burlingame. Dave Norwood. David Wynn.
I'm here.
Elizabeth. Either one of the gals. There's Brad. James Hagar. Jason.
I am here.
Wow, quite a formatting issue going on here. Jeffrey Dutton. Jeremy. Joe. John. Everybody can mute while they're not talking. Justin. Ken. Laura. Leah. Lynn Knopf.
I'm here.
Thank you, Lynn. Lynn McIntosh.
That makes your second Lynn. I'm here too.
Perfect. Margaret. Mary.
I'm here. Thank you.
Pam. Patty Baldwin.
I'm here.
Richard Burns.
I'm here.
Rick Radisky.
Here.
Bob Pataki. Tamara. Sandy.
I'm here.
Shalene.
I'm here.
Thank you. Stacy Taylor. Okay, got you down. Teresa Landrum. Tony. Tyler.
Good evening, I'm here.
Thank you. Bill Barnett. And that's it. So Mary, you want to move to subcommittee meetings?
Yep, I was just trying to get a count of how many members we actually have here tonight.
Yep, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with the membership subcommittee, we had not actually met other than, if you can consider the member-only meeting that we did have during the late August. We'll be reporting a little bit on that later on. And then the engaging the public subcommittee, I did not attend that. Is there anybody who'd like to report? I don't think that you were on for very long, as I understand it.
Yeah, there was really nothing that was discussed, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. And Dave, with the prevention subcommittee, I know you and Kelly had been going back and forth a little bit on the analytics on that.
Well, first off, community awareness information, it's in the MPART website. I did go back and review the entire document, made sure that all the hyperlinks and all the headings and stuff were correct. And all the information is still valid. I sent that information to Kelly. And at this point right now, we haven't scheduled a preventative measures subcommittee meeting in quite some time. What I was going to do is send out an email, getting the group's input on, our next, if there's any issues that we need to discuss. So I will be sending out an email probably the first part of next week to the subcommittee team.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Is there anybody from the website review committee here?
Yes, this is Brad Venman. We did meet again. We did meet again today, and Kelly and there's a student that's working there in the office have been doing some updating or planning for updating a few things. The MPART website or the MPART homepage is going to be revised, and we're going to be adding this is probably going to happen first. A what's new section that's going to describe the list of new content and or new sites and documents that have come online in the last however long, and that will be continue to be updated so that when people come to the site that they don't have to search for some of that stuff if they're not signed up for the MPART weekly emails.
Okay.
And in addition, they're also looking to provide a new PFAS 101 for residents webpage. And so they've done some brainstorming. They've asked our subcommittee to take a look at that, add to it, try and identify gaps and that type of thing. And she's asked, and they've asked us as a committee, not just subcommittee, a COG as a whole, to participate and try to identify things that you're seeing or that in your community that might need to be or that you're finding are the most common questions. So if anybody that has some ideas in that would be able to share those, send those via email to me. I think our emails are listed on the distribution list. And that way we can take a look at those, compile those, and add them to the sort of the outline that we're working with to try and come up with the revised or the new PFAS 101 for Residents webpage.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, very good.
I actually just was looking in the chat, and it looks like we have 15 members here. But I also saw a note from Angela Yan. And she's saying, hello, it is great to meet you all. My name is Angela Yan, and I am an environmental professional from Troy working on water quality policy. Is Angela, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry, I'm in a coffee shop, so it might be a little loud, but my name is Angela. I work for the National Caucus of Environmental Legislators. We don't get to work that much in Michigan on policy, but I work a lot with PFAS and just overall water quality, so I'm really excited to get more involved in Michigan. I was born and raised in Troy and still currently live in Troy. And yeah, I met with Abby from Eagle last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Time's been weird, but it was really wonderful to just hear about this committee and everything that you all are working on. So I'm very excited to learn more about it and join as a member. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I think our next portion would be the fertilizer program and Jared Fletcher with Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. Welcome, Jared. Thank you very much for presenting for us tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Mary, you'll remember that this was a kind of a special request that we got from the COG a few months back on working through some of the questions around fertilizers and what comes in a bag and what doesn't. And so it's kind of complicated. And so Jared, we said, Jared, can you put something together that would try to explain the whole situation for us? So Jared said, sure. So he's been working on this with his department to try to, this was the first time he had tried to explain it to the public. So happy to, so go easy on him. And we'll try to answer all the questions. I think he's putting together a really nice presentation for you. So Jared, do you want to take it away?
Thank you. I certainly can. Yes, I'm Jared Fletcher. I'm the fertilizer and bulk agrochemical storage specialist within the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. We are specifically in the pesticide and plant pest management division. And then after that, it's a section. So I'm in the feed safety and fertilizer section, which is then broken down into specific programs. Within the fertilizer program, I also oversee liming materials, as well as agrochemical storage for pesticides and fertilizers. And I will now stop showing my face so it doesn't freeze up, and I can share the screen here.
Yep. If you don't want to share slides, Kelly can do it too. So whatever's easiest.
Yeah, I'll just try to do it from here. And if it seems like it's freezing up on everybody, then we can swap over to the other side.
Okay. And how about if people have questions, either drop them in the chat or raise your hand and we'll get to them at the end. And then Jared, we should have plenty of time to run through everything that Jared's got, as well as take questions. So how about we do that? Okay. Sorry, Jared, go ahead.
Oh, no worries. So to give a preview, we will first take the highest level possible of the program and looking at the overview, and then we'll dive into more details as the label review process. After that, we will then look at materials that are not regulated or are currently exempt from the fertilizer law, the regulatory tools that we currently have that are built within the fertilizer law, and then what the program has historically been doing for protecting humans, animal health, and the environment. So where does our authority come from for the fertilizer law? It's actually from NREPA, or otherwise known as the Natural Resources Environmental Protection Act. Act 451 of 1994, specific to Part 85 fertilizers. It'll be interchangeably called the Fertilizer Law or Part 85, the Fertilizer Act. If you've looked at this, that's typically the words that you'll hear if you're looking online. But this is technically what it is called. From there, the regulation number 634, commercial fertilizers, was also promulgated specifically for additional labeling guidelines or formatting requirements that must be on a label. So to break down in the simplest terms possible, within the fertilizer law, there's either fertilizers or there's soil conditioners. The difference are, it starts right off the bat with the first box. Are there nutrients guaranteed? If there's not, then it goes under the soil conditioner. Soil conditioner status does require a registration fee, and it does go through a program review process where we look at the application. So that's why this box is in yellow, and you'll see one other box over here that's in yellow. If there are nutrients guaranteed in the bag, then it's considered a fertilizer. However, there are two categories for fertilizer. There's commercial agricultural, and which are your farm use type fertilizers, and then there's specialty fertilizers. There may be labels that target both, which means it's a dual purpose or a dual registered product, and we still would require a registration and a review process for that application and label or group of labels that may be within an application. The commercial agriculture fertilizers do not require pre-review per statute and federal regulations, but that facility must obtain a license before they can sell or distribute fertilizer in the state of Michigan, and that is a fertilizer manufacturing facility license. So to dive into the label, what they're targeting, we call it the intended target or the audience. Commercial fertilizers, again, they target agricultural users. So your row crop farmers, it can be your specialty crops such as apples, blueberries, cherries, cole crops, which are your vegetables. And then specialty fertilizers are your primarily non-farm use or residential use. So you're talking your turf, gardens, and ornamentals, raised beds or container plants. And then there are soil conditioners, which are, again, they don't guarantee the nutrient content. Rather, it's like the growing media of what helps to retain moisture, cation exchange. That does target both agricultural use and residential use. The review process, when we're starting to look at labels of an application that comes in for specialty fertilizers, and this is also for soil conditioners, there are specific requirements or components that must be on a label, and we look for those. We also look at the ingredients within the application or on the label itself. And there is an association, which you'll see on the left here, the Association of American Plant Food Control Officials. They publish an official publication each year, and volume number 76 was 2023's official publication. If there is not an approved ingredient for fertilizer products within this, it is not accepted as a fertilizer ingredient. Beyond that, we also request additional information if needed, which could be efficacy data or research on soil conditioner or specialty fertilizers. If there are claims beyond the nutrients, we have them provide documentation that shows that those claims are verified or can be repeated. We also can ask for nutrient analysis. To specifically dive down into the details of the label review process now, Regulation 634, which is your commercial fertilizer regulation, the components that must be on a packaged fertilizer are your net weight, which in the picture, if you can see on this shared screen down in this corner, shows net weight of 50 pounds. The brand or the product name, which is typically up at the top. This is Healthy Grow Professional. The name and address of the licensed manufacturer or registrant, which you can see down here at the bottom on this example. The grade statement or grade is the NPK. Some of your products, if many of you are aware of Scott's Miracle Grow, You'll see them in real large numbers and font at the top, but on this it's small. 835, that's your nitrogen, potassium, or available phosphate, and soluble potash is potassium. Guaranteed analysis is an additional breakdown, also shows the NPK again, but it also shows your secondary and micronutrients. Secondary nutrients are recognized as calcium, magnesium, and sulfur, and your micronutrients are boron, chlorine, cobalt, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum, sodium, and zinc. So they can all be found within this guaranteed analysis. And the derived from statement, which is the last requirement that must be on the label, that is your list of ingredients that are immediately follow the guaranteed analysis. Guaranteed analysis specifically are nutrients, and then the derived from statement is the ingredients that are in the product that make or supply the nutrients that's in the fertilizer product. To further dive into the derived from statement or the ingredients, you have synthetic fertilizers, which are made by chemical synthesis to imitate a natural product. And then there are natural fertilizers, which you'll see in this grayish orange box, I'm sorry, brownish orange box, feather meal, bone meal. Those are other manufacturing processes where like rendering of a meat facility, if there's byproduct and it contains a natural nutrients, those are considered natural fertilizers. Specifically pulled from Part 85, which is our fertilizer law. This definition means a substance composed of only natural organic, natural inorganic, or both types of fertilizer materials and natural fillers. Synthetics that you'll typically see, muriate of potash is one, polymer sulfur coated urea, urea itself. Those are examples of synthetics. The soil conditioner, as you'll see, the list is a little bit lower or smaller when it comes to requirements that must be on the label. This is an example of a soil conditioner, and label requirements for a packaged product are the net weight or net volume, the brand or the product name. On this example, you have some Votto granular, the name and address of the registrant, which I had accidentally cut off or is on the bottom here. And then Regulation 634 requires that an application also contains the efficacy data or the field trial results that shows that the product can provide a significant benefit to plants and or the soil. So that's not a requirement that's on the label, but it is a requirement that has to be in the application. Looking at products that are exempt from Part 85 now, it's kind of a hairy world, but it can get big or it can get small depending on claims that they may put on a label. Unmanipulated animals and vegetable manures, topsoil, which the pictures that you'll see up here, that's a picture of a bulk material or topsoil. And then you have topsoil, which is bagged. You have microbial products where they have specific strains or species of microbes or fungi. Then you also have this. I'm not going to go too far into detail, but this is an example of a biostimulant where they're not utilizing nutrients, rather like this product specifically was a sunblock for plants. So your imagination can get kind of wild when it comes to biostimulants. It's currently not a recognized category at this point until the USDA passes the Farm Bill and officially adopts a definition for that. But I just figured I'd throw this in there as another example. And there are also waste streams or byproducts regulated by EGLE. I'm sure as many of you are aware, biosolids from wastewater treatment plants that are land applied direct to farm fields from those facilities are handled by them and not by the Michigan Department of Agriculture. Regulatory tools. So what do we have from Part 85 and the promulgated regulations of that part? Well, we defined adulterated or misbranded. Within that, so if we find that a label or a firm is providing a fertilizer or soil conditioner that is deemed adulterated or misbranded, we can issue an order or a fine. Within the orders, you have two types. We have a seizure order stop sale, which is specific to a product. So we can say you can no longer sell this product until you've made the corrections or is disposed of. Misbranded can go, adulterated means that there's a true issue with the problem. Misbranding means maybe there's just issues with label formatting. Cease and desist is an order against an action. So this would tell a firm you can no longer operate without a license, or you can no longer sell an adulterated product, something along those lines. That's under that category. We can also issue administrative fines. And though it doesn't happen fairly often, since I can remember, none's happened, but we can, through an administrative hearing process, rescind licenses or registrations or fail or decide not to renew if we find that there is deceptive or misleading practices from a firm or a label is deceptive or misbranded or adulterated. Within our regulatory toolbook, we also can work with other divisions within our department as they handle different categories or areas of consumer protection. So within the laboratory division, we have the chemistry section. They analyze samples that we take for nutrients as well as possibly heavy metals. And then we also work with weights and measures, who regulates bagged and containers. Basically anything that has a unit of measurement on it, they verify. And we have worked with them. And I have a story at the end that I will share where we've worked with them. We also work with the Environmental Stewardship Division. They are a compliance assistance branch of the Department of Agriculture. And we do work with them, such as programs of the MEAP, which is, I think, Michigan Agricultural Assurance or Environmental Assurance Program. You'll see signs for MEAP verified farms. There's also water quality programs that have historically been within this division. So we work with them as well. So within specifically Part 85, environmental protections that we've had promulgated under regulations, we have bulk agrochemical storage, which Regulation 640 is specific to commercial pesticide bulk storage. Regulation 641 is commercial fertilizer bulk storage. And then we've also promulgated Regulation 642, which is your on-farm bulk storage, but is specific to liquid fertilizers. Some may have also heard, I put it in quotes, the phosphorus-free turf law, which was established in 2012. The reason why I put this in quotes is because it's not its own distinct law. It was actually an amendment to Part 85, the fertilizer law, that put in information regarding phosphorus in turf fertilizers and what you can and cannot do. To provide some specifics on that, 8512B, which is the section of Part 85, states that you cannot land apply fertilizer containing available phosphate to turf unless a soil or tissue test was done on that lawn within the preceding 3 years by a lab that shows a deficiency of phosphorus in that soil. The second is if it's a new turf that's being established, or if it's the first growing season for that turf. And the third is that a fertilizer can contain a natural source of available phosphate if it's a natural fertilizer or biosolid, but it cannot be land applied at more than 0.25 pounds of available phosphate per 1,000 square feet at any one time. That's a relatively low application rate. Other mechanisms that we have built in is within the label review process, specifically asking questions. There are many labels that we'll see that come in from out of state or internationally, where there's just a random ingredient that's not recognized by APCO. Again, that's the Association of American Plant Food Control Officials. Or there's just, I call them umbrella terms, to where we'll ask additional questions just to see truly what that material is and where it comes from. And is this all we currently have? Yes. Are we looking to possibly do more? Yes. But the reason why I say we may evolve as the industry evolves is because we're currently looking at our current regulations and the law itself. Are we going to update them? Yes, at some point. the plan with biostimulants, that's going to open up Part 85 because we're going to have to define that, and that's a new category. And that may also allow us to update other areas. It may even create new regulations that we'll have to promulgate. We're unsure at that point yet. We're just massaging the future and trying to figure out where to go from here. But what we also are doing is we have a sampling project that happens annually with the chemistry section of the laboratory division, where we have inspectors go out and sample fertilizers that is specific to the nutrient guarantees that's on those fertilizer products, though. So we ensure that the consumers that are purchasing a fertilizer are receiving what's truly being advertised to them. If there is a deficiency in a nutrient, there is administrative action that is taken upon those firms. And the other project that we have that works towards possibly environmental protections as well as consumer protection is a marketplace inspection. This is where we have inspectors go out into stores or retail locations and look at the shelves that contain fertilizer products, and they then compare that to a list that we have that shows if the product or the facility requires a license or registration, and if they are currently registered or not. There are many times we find unregistered products, and we work within a compliance measurement to get them registered without having to take administrative action, and or facilities that may need to have a license because that label may also be considered an agricultural use fertilizer. We also have them during this marketplace inspection look at the ingredients on these labels to see if there's possible adulteration or misbranding. So those are two other projects that we also look at when it comes to protecting consumers and possibly the environment. So this is one of 3 stories. Now that we're at the end of the presentation, I wanted to share a couple of years, 2021. Yes, it was a couple of years back. We did have an investigation come in and actually started, or was initiated in the fall of 2020, specific to a organic raised bed soil. That's what the label claimed. It was 100% organic. A person had purchased 7 bags of material at a Walmart on the way home to her house in the Upper Peninsula. And when they had opened that 3 of those bags, there were numerous contaminants in there, or 4 materials. Within the pictures that were provided to us, there was like a 2-inch shard of a ceramic, very sharp piece, as well as very sharp pieces of metal, some of them up to 1 inch or 2 inches long as well as you'll see in the highlight here, plastics, fabric, metal, glass, ceramic, rubber, or styrofoam. And that's just some, but not all. So as you can see within this release, we worked with Miracle Grow to issue this press release to for consumer protection that there may be materials in there. The firm, or Scott's or Miracle Grow in this case, actually did remove or recall all of these bag products from store shelves and took the contaminated products out of the marketplace. So this is one of those examples that we have of working within our boundaries of the law to ensure that we're protecting consumers and the environment, because as you're aware, I mean, some of this material should not be in there and could be toxic to your plants, and I'm sure you don't want to touch with bare hands. 2 others, the most recent, we have a term within APFGO that is an ingredient source. It's called bovine protein hydrolysate. Bovine is from cows, that most of you would probably recognize the most, but that's one of those where when I received this application, I asked more details. My original concern was actually because of BSE, mad cow disease, but I ended up finding out that the material was half from a rendering plant and the other half was from a tannery in Italy. The firm could not provide any additional information and ended up withdrawing their application because, as everyone knows, tannery material, depending on where it comes from, can be extremely toxic. So that's one of those examples of just asking the right questions, further prying until you get to the source of what that material is. And bovine protein hydrolysate, as I said, is considered an umbrella term in my book, where whenever I see a term like that, I ask more information. Another one that happened in 2018 that was significant. There was a NPK of a 500 product, and it said it was dried by wheat straw. The reason why a flag was raised is because it was a liquid fertilizer, and wheat straw is not liquid. That is a byproduct of wheat after the wheat's been harvested, or the grain has been harvested off that field. Reaching out to the APTGO group, which are other state officials that at a similar platform as myself. The state of Virginia actually informed us that they discovered that this liquid fertilizer material was actually a waste material from Chinese paper mills, and that the wheat straw was actually a processing filter. So needless to say, that application was denied, and it's never made its way into Michigan that we are aware of. So those are examples that I wanted to provide as to how we are working within Part 85 and our regulatory authority to protect consumers and the environment. And from there, I will now open it up to questions.
Thank you, Jared. We appreciate the 3 stories and how you're protecting our people and our environment. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I do see a hand. Let's see here. That would be with Connie.
Yes, just a quick question here. What is MPART? You know, this is a PFAS response action team. What are you doing to make sure that there is no PFAS that is put on agricultural land in order to protect humans from eating PFAS contaminated beef or PFAS contaminated root vegetables?
Yes, good question. So at this point, the current criteria that is out there is for drinking water. There is no criteria for soil or for sludges at this point for PFAS. Unfortunately, at this point, the science, is in its infancy stage when it comes to PFAS as an emerging contaminant. There's still a lot to be figured out. The fertilizer programs, there is no federal platform like there is with EPA and pesticides. So each state is relatively, I don't want to say on their own. We do work together within the association, but there is no federal platform beyond EPA. And we're currently working or waiting on EPA with their PFAS strategic roadmap and developing criteria and or standards that we could then possibly use moving forward and creating another sampling project type to look for PFAS that may be in a fertilizer material.
And I think, Connie, the current law structure doesn't give us a lot of tools, but as Jared's been explaining with some of the stories, we're trying to be pretty creative with trying to be as protective as we can within the boundaries of what we've got to work with. So combining what MDART is doing plus with the interim strategy for our biosolids actions and requiring all biosolids to be tested before any application, we've been, trying to come at it from many different directions to try to narrow down that realm of possibility so that there isn't actions. But Brad, do you want to expound on that a little bit more?
Yeah, Brad Deacon with the Michigan Department of Ag and Rural Development, the Legal Affairs and Emergency Management, and been working on these issues for a while. But the biggest step was actually getting the huge milestone of biosolids and the interim strategy put together, and that whole process. From our standpoint, that was the biggest potential risk source. We are aware that there's other states that have not done anything at all and have not turned off the spigots. And that is a concern for us, that we have continued to advocate that there needs to be some national direction and national standards on products in interstate commerce. So.
Okay, thank you.
And I see.
Jared, there is a question in the chat about malorganites or other commercial soil fertilizers, and whether there's a testing protocol.
Yeah, so there currently especially for, well, malorganite and other biosolids-based commercial fertilizers? Is there testing requirements for PFAS contamination? There is not currently. We can request PFAS analysis based on Part 85 and using Eagle's interim strategy. So we have done that with a few firms where we have identified that they are selling or distributing in Michigan, just to ensure that we're not seeing any outliers. Eagle considers or uses the term industrially impacted. So far, things that are coming into Michigan, biosolids based, we're not seeing anything that jumps out that is of greater concern. That's not to say that that won't happen, especially when you have states like Maine who are banning PFAS, or I'm sorry, biosolids from being land applied, but yet they're not turning the spigot off. So the concern, we're keeping our eyes on that platform nationally because we do not want that material then making its way into Michigan. So anytime that I see that word biosolids in a derived from statement for fertilizer, it's an immediate red flag. I'm asking those additional questions to get what we need and working with Eagle to see if there are issues of what we would then want to then raise further flags and move forward with.
So Jared, in those situations, you can ask for additional testing.
Yes.
We can and we do.
Excellent. I thought I saw Dan Brown's hand up at one point, but it looks like it might be down. Does anybody else have any questions?
Connie's got her hand up again. So Connie?
Yeah, quick question. So are you saying that there is no PFAS in milorganite? Is that what you're saying? Is that what MPART is saying?
No.
In other words, if I buy milorganite to put on the garden, I could be spreading PFAS compounds on my soil.
There is potential for that, yes. I didn't
That's
say
not
there was
good.
zero malorganite, zero PFAS in malorganite. I'll clarify. The information that we received from PFAS results, nothing has jumped out as being, by utilizing the Eagle interim strategy, as alarming or concerning. Or more
But wait a
concerning than
minute.
industry within Michigan.
Yeah, but Jared, the question is, milorganite, it does contain PFAS. Only the concentration you don't think is very high. Is that what you're saying?
It may or may not. There are many things that contain PFAS with the many years that we've had of it being developed and used in Michigan, and not even in Michigan, in the world.
Okay, so I should watch it if I'm putting milorganite on my garden. I probably
Anytime
shouldn't
that
be
you
doing-
see the word biosolid in a fertilizer, I would be concerned. Always ask those questions if you recognize that there is a PFAS source in a product.
Okay.
And I think
one
I've looked at
follow-
their website, Connie. They don't,
Yeah.
on their website for milorganite, they don't actually say that they've done PFAS testing. They just assure you that it's okay. So it might be one of those where, maybe more people should ask.
What about fertilizers and what about pesticides? Pesticides, I believe, contains PFAS because they would have surfactants, and surfactants are PFAS.
I can't
Did you
speak
check
on
that
that.
out?
That's a different program.
Okay.
But the information that did come out within PFAS and pesticides, I believe that was last year, was that it was actually leaching out of the plastic containers into the liquid material.
Mm.
And I can speak that there was earlier this year, EPA announced results. They sampled a whole slew of pesticides that had been identified in other, like in a published journal, as containing various amounts of PFAS, and EPA wasn't able to recreate or recreate those results or find it. So I'll see if I can find that and put that in the chat. In terms of relative risk, I think from our standpoint, biosolids are the place to be looking for and asking more questions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you.
The EPA had to come up with a special testing method to test the oily-based liquids in those containers. And after coming up with a brand new testing method, was not able to replicate the PFAS in the mosquito repel or mosquito spray. However, EPA in different testing was able to find that certain types of products, plastic jugs that had a fluorine coating on them could leach out PFAS out of them. So there is a study shows that a certain technology using fluorine can leach out of containers. So the mosquito stuff that was reported, apparently not true, but certain types of technologies using fluorine could leach out PFAS.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And I think Rick Radisky has his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the comment about the fluorine technology with the plastic jugs. And back in the 80s, Ford Motor Company came out with a process to get rid of metal gas tanks, and they developed a process where they took polyethylene and they put fluorine gas in it, and it actually made like a crude Teflon. It wasn't Teflon, the polymer itself, but it fluorinated the inside of that container and made it far more durable. And it sounded to me when I heard that, I read that same study, and it sounded like they were using that for the jugs of the pesticides and other products, and they were making polyethylene more durable with that fluorine coating, but then it imparts, a weird PFAS mixture into the product that it contains. And I think it's probably more widespread than what we think, because there's a lot of, like you buy Roundup or something like that, it's in polyethylene, and things that are, somewhat corrosive. I think they're doing that. I don't know if they're doing that in the US anymore, because the air permits to create those kind of jugs, it got to be really hard to get an air permit because the fluorine's really reactive. But if they're being imported from overseas or something like that, that could be an issue. I think we're going to be hearing more about that, because I would imagine there's a lot of containers that are fluorinated and we don't know it, and it's certainly imparting low levels. And low levels, when you apply pesticides all over a field, it could get leached into the groundwater, and repeatedly every year. So it's just something to watch.
There is a company that's still doing it in US, Enhanced Technologies, that uses a process called Encase, ENKASE. And their product prevents a thing called paneling on containers, where stuff could leak through, cause the label to fall off, cause the container to go into odd shapes, sort of like if you filled something up and then took it into the cold, how it shrinks the container. So there's a lot of that out there, and so those containers are coated. Motor oil, some household products like drain cleaners, anything oily, things like that, perhaps surfactants. By the way, Connie, not all surfactants are PFAS. Many of them are hydrocarbon based. Some of them are actually plant based too.
Yeah, I heard about motor oil being a potential sort of the containers for motor oil, because it also allows people to have thinner containers. That you'd have to have a thicker polyethylene container, but if you have it fluorinated, it can be thinner, so it's a lower cost to produce. So yeah, I do think we'll hear more about that in the future.
Did anybody have any further questions for Jared?
Mary,
Well,
thank you
very much, Jared.
Thanks for the opportunity. I did want to say, kind of in conjunction of this, I don't know how much we've talked about it, and that Governor Whitmer's bipartisan budget includes some additional funding for MDARD to work on both emerging contaminants and regenerative agriculture, which has, the basis of healthy soils. So we're working on our plans to be ready to put those resources to work October 1st. So we expect that we will be able to do more with more in this realm.
Great. Is there anything that you can tell us as far as like maybe the farm bill and that? Is there anything, since we are a citizen group dealing with areas around the state, anything that we might be able to help with as far as our legislators and that, encouraging anything regarding the farm bill?
We're reviewing a proposal that looks like it came out of Maine, and Maine's senators and representatives, and to sort of see what that really looks like. That would essentially track along with some of the things that we've been calling for a while, in terms of federal agency support and support directly to farmers who are impacted. So we're taking a look at that, and we'll be talking with our governor's office and seeing how where we can go with that. But that is out there.
Okay. Could we ask that as you, or maybe Abby, once you get firm information, feel free to come back to the COG. We'd love to, help out with that. Thank you.
I think, all the citizen support of these kinds of topics is really important. I think the reason that MDARD was able to get that kind of funding from the legislature to support this situation is due in part because of the actions you guys and keeping this topic fresh and alive for the legislature is really important, especially as we go session to session and year to year. Those members change and they got a pretty big turnover. So the fact that it's back up and we're able to get the funds that MDARD needed to hire additional staff, help be able to do some emergency work and tackle some of these PFAS issues was huge and critical for their budget. So thank you for all your hard work at the citizen level.
Sure. Appreciate that. Okay, our next thing on the agenda has to do with a recap of the COG meeting that was held on August 31st. We knew by emails leading up to that there were several members already who were not going to be able to attend. And so I did receive an email today, and I sent out an edited version of the notes that we had. But I also had been advised that possibly we should not be sharing the direct information from that until we had like a vote of members on whether members actually that attended the August 31st meeting on whether they approve that we could release those, because the meeting itself was a member-only meeting, and that this person particularly didn't feel that that should be shared unless those particular members were aware that they were going to be having that information shared publicly. So I guess I can tell you just a little bit about it. We did have 10 members that actually participated. 9 actually spoke during that meeting. We had basically a good discussion throughout the whole meeting, I thought. And we covered many different topics. And I think that we are going to plan a second meeting based on the fact that it appeared that there were members that were not able to attend the original meeting. And Sandy has requested that we hold that meeting in October due to the fact that she has conflicts and, excuse me, other people have some time constraints as well coming up. So we will be sending out a doodle poll. Jason was kind enough to offer that the first time. And I guess I'll just ask if there were people here on this meeting that attended that particular meeting on August 31st. If you could just give a general idea of how you thought the member-only meeting went as far as, you know, participation and topics covered and that, and then we, you know, we'll follow up in the future as far as the second meeting. Dan Brown.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Yeah, I appreciated everybody joining that meeting who was able to. I thought it was a really good, free discussion, and you know, I thought it gave us a lot of ideas. So I encourage anybody that wasn't able to make the last one for whatever reason, you know, let's try to schedule it so that, you know, we can get those folks involved that want to make the next one. And I encourage everybody on this call to try and make the next one. You know, there's a lot happening now, and I think, you know, over, you know, the coming 14, 15 months that are going to be really important. And I think that directly intersect, you know, a lot of the issues that this group is interested in. So I appreciate the last meeting and looking forward to the next one.
Thanks. Is there anybody else from that meeting that would like to say anything? Actually, looks like there's not too many people that were on that meeting that are here. I know Sandy and Tony both had to jump off to, well, actually, Tony contacted me earlier and said he was going to be on a different PFAS call tonight, and Sandy as well for her local group. So that, Jason, would you be willing to do a doodle poll for going into October possibly?
Yep, I can do that in the next day or two.
Okay, great. No, we don't even need to do it right now. I just wondered if you were willing to do it in the future.
Nope, happy to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the next thing on the agenda would be an issue that has, we've talked several months over the Eat Safe Fish guidelines. And I have shared that in Holly, 2 of our lakes were new to the Eat Safe Fish guideline program. And I had contacted Brandon Reed, who did our presentations, and asked him, once the listing came out and we were listed on there, what was the process for informing the municipalities and then the residents that live on those lakes that they now are in an area with contaminated fish. And I can read you what he had responded here. It said, "Hi, Mary, thank you for the email. Our Eat Safe Fish notification process does not include contacting residents that live on lakes where new or updated guidelines are issued. Our notification process includes issuing a formal press release and notifying partner agencies, MPART, local health departments, and community partners. We are currently working with our distributor to prepare printed copies of the 2023 guides. Once those are ready, anybody can order them for free on our Eat Safe Fish website. If you would like, I would be happy to notify you once those are available to order." So I responded to Brandon at that point and I said, I appreciate the response. I will deliver the appropriate pages of the Eat Safe Fish guide to our local municipalities so they know as soon as possible. I am concerned about the formal press release reaching residents for our area. We have one local paper, but Holly is outside of their target area. Our municipalities have official notices printed there, but I don't know how many Holly residents even subscribe to that little paper. The name of that paper, and I gave him the name and the fax number and their email. I would imagine many communities throughout the state are in similar situations where residents do not have ready access to media notices. I understand from my work with the Citizen Advisory Workgroup that through MPART, that it's very difficult for the state of Michigan agencies to contact residents directly when there are environmental issues that put their families at risk. But this should be a goal the agencies continue to work toward when many residents do not participate with social media or have access to computers at all, and there are fewer print publications available. Thank you for your time, Brandon, and please feel free to pass this email to any agency or department that might be helpful. So then Brandon did contact me back, and let's see if I can find it here. He said, yep, thank you for your help in raising awareness about our guidelines. We appreciate the information and your suggestions. We do send notifications to local health departments and other organizations when we issue new guidelines and encourage them to share that information with their residents. I will look to providing notification for local papers and news outlets. And the other thing I thought was important is we're always looking for new opportunities to expand our Eat Safe Fish outreach and reach more residents. If you are aware of any community groups in your area who may be interested in sharing Eat Safe Fish materials and information, please share those with me and Harry Castle. Harry is our Eat Safe Fish Community Engagement Coordinator. If anybody would like the contact information for, well, actually, I'll just send it out to the group, the contact information for Brandon Reed and Harry Castle. So you can contact them if your community has a need for that information. And one of the things that they did have in mind was actually going to fishing tournaments and things like that, like even children's fishing programs where they might be able to share the Eat Safe Fish information directly with families. So if anybody has a community that deals in that, I will send that information out tomorrow. But is there anybody else who has a concern for the fact that I don't know how long the Eat Safe Fish program has been in existence, but the fact that there's no direct contact at this point to the residents who are the most at risk of eating those contaminated fish is just disturbing to me. Abby?
One thing to keep in mind is when people buy fishing license, and we've got a representative here from DNR who can correct me, but as I understand it is when people buy the fishing license, they do get a copy of the Eat Safe Fish Guide sent to them. Either a link to it, or if they buy it online, or I believe it's sitting there at the counter with the fishing license. And so our hope is that as they're getting the fishing license, that they're actually becoming informed that way too.
The only thing is Brandon had said that the actual printed copy of the Eat Safe Fish Guide is not available yet. And that he was going to contact me once those were completed and ready, you know, that I could deliver it to our municipalities. So that's one thing. Okay. The other thing is, you know, even if somebody buys a fishing license online, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will print out the document. I know when I went looking just for our specific pages, there's many pages of that document. And so I just personally printed out the particular ones that had to do with our lake. And, that seemed to work fine. Although I did also print out the portion of the document that shows the size, how they actually determine the size of when they're talking about 8 ounces. It's actually the spread out size of your hand from the palm of your hand up to the tip of your finger, and then across from your spread out pinky finger across to your, that's what they consider 8 ounces. And a child-sized portion of fish is considered 2 ounces. So it wouldn't take many fish for a child to eat that would be exceeding, the safe level of that. Daniel.
Yeah, a lot of thoughts on this because we are, working with the Eat Safe Fish team on the Huron River with the River Walkers program. And, through that, we've been concerned primarily with, reaching fisher people right by the water bodies where they're, fishing and talking with them directly. So there are a lot of ideas rolling around in my head at the moment. I think it would be worth it to get a small group of us together with the Eat Safe Fish team to talk through some ideas. They're really good to work with, and I think that's that's a good step to get on the calendar. But my basic feeling on this, I think, is that so one is the concerning problem that I don't think the guidelines as they relate to PFAS match sort of the reality as we understand it. It's just based on obsolete data, and we're still waiting for those numbers to be updated. And if we, sort of realistically just assess kind of what the science is telling us, probably the guidance is that people should reduce their consumption of pretty much all inland fish anywhere where PFAS is present, which in probably every corner of the country is just about everywhere. They should probably reduce that as much as possible because, even if a small number of servings probably puts them over what we would consider safe at this point. So that's disheartening. But the other aspect of this is that the information is there, and the Eat Safe Fish team has done a really good job compiling that into those guides, which are available as PDFs online, and you can get to them in the website. Just trying to click through the website again, it strikes me that this might be just kind of an information management topic where maybe what's needed is, in one vein, is just an updated interactive map on the website where people can, with fewer clicks, find the water body that they're looking for. But that's entirely sort of a GIS information sharing problem because the data is there. If you go to the Eat Safe Fish guides, you can find your county and you can find your water body where there's an advisory, and the guides are really useful. So it's not that the information is the issue. It's getting it to the people, in a timely fashion. In terms of, what you're talking about, Mary, with, notifying residents and so forth. Given how frequently these are updated, which is generally, I think, annually, or unless there's, some major event, I think starting the process of building awareness around these is probably a good start. So it's, again, I think, thinking through with that team about, what groups aren't being reached that we might want to reach. So county health departments is, of course, great. And in our neck of the woods, I find myself talking to, just local government officials, city council members, city commission members in various capacities, HOA groups, lake association groups, et cetera, et cetera. I think, at a state scale, I think that gets pretty nebulous. So trying to figure out a rollout method or, some sort of distribution network would be good. And that's where we could work with that team to help that.
I think
I would
that's
be,
a really, yeah.
I would be fine with joining something like that.
I think that's completely doable. So Dan, I think the Eat Safe Fish team and the community engagement coordinators around the state would, I'm sure, be thrilled to be able to work with you guys on additional outreach and better ways to interact with the public. So that's their whole job. So we now have, Marcus can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's 8 different community engagement coordinators assigned to different regions of the state. So that's their job, is to make sure they're getting out there and getting this information into the hands of the people. So the better job, the more tools you guys can give them for interacting with those people, that would be fantastic. As far as the GIS system for making the Eat Safe Fish Guide itself more interactive, yes, that's on the agenda. We're trying to figure out how to get that done. We know it needs to be done, and if people can not have to print it, they can bring it up right on their phone while they're fishing. That's the best way to do it. So it's definitely on our list, and I've been talking to the team on and off about, okay, what's the next steps? There's a couple of steps that we got to do before we can get to that point, but we're getting closer. So I think those were the big questions that you asked. My other question is Dan, from your perspective, when fishermen know about the Eat Safe Fish Guide, how many of them actually try to follow the guidelines? Because I think there's some people who just, they know it's there, they're willing to take the risks, and they're going to continue to eat fish like they like it.
Yeah, once they have the guides and the information, the vast majority of anglers follow the guidelines. So that is definitely an encouraging aspect of this. That there is a fraction that is definitely a minority that don't follow the guidelines for one reason or another, and then of that group, there is a fraction that feels they can't follow them because they are dependent on fish for their nutrition and don't know how they offset their diet. That's sort of the heartbreaking group. There is some small fraction, but I think it's a pretty low percentage of people that they're really adamant against. They just don't trust government information, et cetera, et cetera. So they're just not going to follow the guidelines, period. But I think that's a pretty small number. I think it's, people either feel they need to, they don't feel it's, as big a risk as folks are making it. But the vast majority is they follow the info once they have it. And I will say that the River Walker program clearly has made a dent in our watershed. So yes. we have river walkers out. We've had one really good river walker this year who's been out. And when I'm out biking or when I'm out for work in those areas and I chat with anglers just to see what's up, and I ask them, have they heard about PFAS or have they talked to a river walker? I very often the answer is yes. So the exposure is there, and they're definitely getting to the regular anglers. So that makes me happy. But to a point that you brought up, Abby, HHS has people that are really good at getting this information out. So I think if it's just scoping out kind of a list of should they just go to city council meetings and get this information out so that, folks in that community can get those guides and then also spread awareness. I think that's a really good idea. Yeah. And that, things like farmers markets and, just other venues that might be good for reaching anglers, that might be harder to reach or good to reach in a different way. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. I like it.
And for Tyler.
I just wanted to mention that I know in our area when the initial PFAS word came down, the health departments were very integral and helpful. the local county health departments in helping us get information out to people. So I don't know whether they're the authority responsible for necessarily informing lake, riparian owners, lake landowners, but I think they'd be a really good resource for that team that Dan's working with. They were really receptive to our input and our needs when we were developing signage for our parks and for our communities. And they also have some internal teams working on outreach and marketing and all that stuff as well within those county teams. So I would say that they would be maybe a resource to help
Okay.
get the word out to landowners when that's issued down. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. And for Tammy.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mary. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
All righty. So my name is Tammy Newcomb. I am the MPART designee for the DNR. So this has been a very interesting conversation. I just want to say, Dan, in your referencing of compliance, is there a study out there that you were referring to? Or because statewide, of course, our experiences are very different, whether you're in an affluent community like Ann Arbor and surrounding, the entire Huron watershed is a little bit more affluent, let's say, than some of our northern communities. And then we do work with our tribal nations as well. So I was just wondering if you were referencing a human dimensions study or survey that had gone on with that type of compliance.
No, and in fact, the Eat Safe Fish program specifically does not, evaluate how the message lands. So what we're basically collecting that feedback anecdotally from the river walkers or from HRWC staff as we're talking to people.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing a significant piece of literature out there, because our charter captains, I started in 2002, and that's when Corey and I started to work on overhauling the messaging and related to fish consumption guidelines and how we approach those things. And we've really come a long way in that time period. And so like charter boat captains will often have a copy of the Eat Safe Fish guideline on board for their clients to understand that, as will many of the river guides will know for their rivers. And I just want to remind people, it's the people who are fishing who are eating the fish that these guidelines apply to. So it's not like everyone who lives on a lake is going to be exposed to risk from fish, right? So we'd love it if everybody in the state bought a fishing license, but we know that's not happening. We have 2 pages of information in the fishing guidelines themselves. One, I think it's about a half a page that talks about the Eat Safe Fish guidelines with a direct link to them. We find most of our anglers are accessing the guidelines online. And then we have a specific cutout related to PFAS. Oh, there it is. Kelly's putting it up right now. And so you can see we've got the Be Aware of PFAS there to create that awareness. We've got the Eat Safe Fish. This is about a 76-page guide document, and it's got all sorts of great information in it. But this is right smack dab in the middle of the document. And then the last page of the document, this is page 66. This is the last page. We do have other sources of information where we do send people again to the Eat Safe Fish website. So I just wanted you to know that this is one of the ways that we do this. We used to have a direct link straight off from the fisheries website. And Amy Peterson and I were looking at that today, and we had recently had the state changed its format for all of our websites, and somehow that one's gone missing. So I'll check on that tomorrow and make sure that we have a direct link from one of the pages that people would go to if they were fishing. So thank you very much, Mary, for letting me say those things and ask that question.
Oh, we appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much.
Tammy, you raise a really interesting issue about this, which is, so everything I was saying is, like I said, it is anecdotal. So it is Huron River watershed. So it's, suburban, exurban, Ann Arbor, and then, urban corridor down to Flat Rock and beyond. so I feel like we're a pretty good microcosm of sort of southern Michigan because we catch a lot of demographics in our watershed, but we are missing, a lot of areas that are probably going to be more deeply libertarian across the state, or are just coming at this from a very different perspective. So, from what I know of, the area around, Houghton Lake, Higgins Lake, Grayling, Mayo, etc. Could be very different perspectives up there.
Well, and I want to respond back to Dan real quick in that we know people are reading about the guidelines around the Huron River watershed because we get angry calls at least once a week from people who are angry about the do not eats, who are angry about the consumption guidelines because it's affecting the VRBOs that are on those inland lakes and things like that. So we know people are aware of it, and they're very angry and they blame us. So they blame the DNR. So we know they're reading it.
So yeah, that is
we
another funny
appreciate
point.
your
Which is,
patience.
I would, I get it's tapered off a little bit, but I still get a few calls a month. When is this gonna get lifted? I have all this fish in my freezer and I can't eat it, and et cetera, et cetera. And so what I was talking about also was not an indication of how people are happy or angry about it. And I would say it's 50. Even if people are not eating the fish and they know not to eat the fish, they're not necessarily always happy about not being able to. So.
Thanks, Tammy. Lynn.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. I thought I had my hand up all this time. Just figured it out again. Okay, two things come to mind when I listen to this presentation and this discussion. First of all, I wonder if one of the simplest solutions could be, not a complete solution, but that there was more signage placed on more places that makes it clear, and that might have, I'm not into all this, but it has like a QR code or something. People could get more information on their phone if they wanted. But I actually think that it's really good that these VRBOs are getting upset and people are getting upset, because we need people to be upset. We need people to be upset about PFAS and about the polluters and about getting together and putting pressure on legislature and any means that we can have. So in a certain way, if you see a sign, it's also educational. It's saying, hey, there's a problem. This Pure Michigan tourist campaign doesn't include the fact that we can't eat a lot of our fish because of PFAS. And to me, it doesn't seem to be, I don't know, I feel like too often in these kinds of situations, we cater to the opinions of other people. It's fair to inform people on a lake. It's a simple, fair thing to do. And you can't miss a sign. I shared this last year after I'd gone 2 years ago. Wow, that's a long time. When I'd gone up to Colorado to visit my daughter, and there was a sign there that says mountain lions are spotted in this area. Be aware. I wouldn't have looked on a website. I wouldn't have checked my phone. It's just a simple sign, but it said the truth. So if you're going to have all the detailed information, that's always helpful. And some people will dig into that, but I don't understand why health departments aren't. Maybe they need to be included in this, because someone's got to, I believe, get some signs out there. I don't think, I'm not going to go around in circles. So that's it. And take it for what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. I agree. Signage would be good. I think that was the last thing on our, oh, I'm sorry, Abby. You had the MPART updates.
That I do. It's been a busy summer. So despite how fast it has gone, we have done a heck of a lot of work in the last few months. So a couple new MPART sites and areas of interest, the Mesic landfill, that's down in Berry County. That is a landfill down in that area just north of Gun Lake. So you'll see we'll be having a town hall about that the end of this month. Central Landfill Authority up in Iron Mountain in Dickinson County, Bay City Fire Department, station number 2. That is a new MPART site. They had a leaky AFFF container that caused some groundwater contamination. The McBain Sanitary Wastewater Treatment Plant up in McBain, Missaukee County. So those are all live and on the website already. Tomorrow we will be putting up the Mason County Sanitary Landfill. That one should not be confused with the Mason County Landfill, which is a Superfund site. This is just the Mason County Sanitary Landfill, which is 2 different locations. So that one will go live tomorrow. So those are some of the new sites that have come up, and those have kept us pretty busy. The other thing, we are just having a bumper crop of town halls coming up in our always, quest for keeping people informed, trying to be transparent, trying to get the information out to people. We will be having a whole bunch of town hall meetings. So Lynn McIntosh, these are mostly in your area, so I'm expecting to see your face. One over the American and NODCO is over in Ionia. That's the Ventra facility over in Ionia. We will be doing that one as a community meeting on September 19th. It's a very busy week for us. September 20th, the next night, we'll be doing one for the 11-mile project in Cortland Township from 6 to 7:30. And then the next night, one for the Hillsborough area, which is in on the north side of Cascade Township in Grand Rapids. That one is another one that we're still trying to figure out the source of that PFAS, but we have sampled probably over 150 homes. And so update meeting on that investigation for that area. The next one is in Howell, the 2440 West Highland Road. It's a section of the Superfund site, which is the Shiawassee River. We will be doing a community meeting for those homes that we have been sampling in and around that area, finding pretty low levels there, but just trying to give everybody an update on what's being found, what it means, answer any questions they've got. And then the last one is a PFAS 101 meeting. Yankee Springs Township asked us for some information on PFAS, what it means, what they can do about it. And so we'll probably answer a few questions there about the Mesic landfill at the same time. It's supposed to be a 101 PFAS meeting, trying to get that information out. We will be bringing up the Eat Safe Fish Guide. We will be including our DHHS community engagement coordinators and the rest of our team, talking about all kinds of PFAS things. But these are open to the public. They're on our website. All of these meetings will be in person, so we're not going to do virtual versions of them. It'll all be in person. It gets very hard with the audio to make sure you've got a good quality meeting for anybody sitting online. So join us if you're in the area. This is an interesting one. You guys probably remember we had a conversation through the winter and into the spring where we're talking about the $5 million set aside for residential drinking water well sampling. We told you then that it didn't include PFAS. There just wasn't enough money. The announcement went out last week, Kelly. I think they just went out last week. I've already received word that they have already spent all the money, that they've already gotten a request for 15,000 samples. And it'd be all kinds of different contaminants, metals, nitrates, basic E. coli, all kinds of water quality, general water quality chemistry that is done for household drinking waters. And so there's a huge need there. Obviously, you can see if you want to talk to your legislator about that. That's one where very, very wildly successful in that we already spent the money in basically 2 weeks, which is, I think, is unheard of. So we'll continue to tout that success and see if we can get some more money to include PFAS next time. MSU's having their PFAS symposium. That's in October 24th and 25th. 23rd and 24th, sorry. That is in person as well, not online. So, Lynn, did you have a question on the last one before I keep going? Oops, you got to unmute yourself though, Lynn.
Well, the birds heard me. So did my cat. All right. I think this, even though we all are disappointed that PFAS is not included, why not? I don't know how soon this is all happening, but this would be an ideal time to include a note about PFAS when they're being sampled and to explain we're not sampling it. However, this is how you can get it sampled. Because then it might also again get people like what? Well, why isn't the state covering it? Why are they paying for this but not PFAS? I keep hearing about PFAS, and that's what we need. We need people to know and to understand there wasn't enough money, but it doesn't mean it's not a very important need. So I mean, this is a great time. I don't know who's planning all this, but that would be the time to include information right there when results are given or samples taken. That's a great idea. Not sampling PFAS, but here you go. You can do it yourself, and why wouldn't it have been nice? But we didn't have the money. That's pretty good. I think I could type that one up. No,
I think you could. I will pass that on to the project team that's working on that, and I'll let them know because I think that is a good idea. I will. Okay. I know that our project team that's been talking to the press for the last 2 weeks about this program has emphasized the fact that PFAS is not included, but we hope to include PFAS in the next round if we can get some more money. So she's been strategically dropping that hint to the press and the legislature as much as she can.
That's great. Yeah. Well, this is one way to get more and more people knowing about it. All right. I'm done.
Yep. Good job. Mary.
Yeah, I want to confirm because I'm not hearing that well. Did you say it was 15,000 tests have already been claimed and those 15,000 tests came to $5 million?
I thought that's what let me look at my email. They've gotten 15,000 requests. So I'm not sure what the requests include. I don't know how many houses per, so 15,000 shouldn't eat up $5 million. I have to do the math and to see what that would be. But I'll talk to the project team to get some more. But what I got is, which we got out of here was like 15,000 requests. So I'll talk to them to see and get more details, and we can follow up next month and tell you the exact details. I just saw this in an email come through today that they are already shutting off the website, or at least the available button, because they think they've already tapped out of the money. So
okay, well, that's good to know, because I was contacted today by one of our board members about this, and he had requested a test and was going to, spread that through his Facebook thing for the township. So I can let him know to let people know that unfortunately it's already used. But contact your legislator.
Yes. And if I hear differently, Mary, I'll reach back to this group and let you all know that there might be a little bit more, or if things change, I will let you guys know for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Lynn Knopf.
Yes, I have a question. Someone had mentioned, I believe it was our August meeting, that there was some money available to do PFAS testing. I'm interested in getting Duck Lake tested because of the persistent and like copious amounts of foam I'm seeing on the lake and the increase over the last few years. Does that ring a bell with anybody at
Yep.
all?
You know, Lynn, I think that was mentioned in regard to Great Lakes PFAS Action Network.
Okay.
They were having a grant program that was brought
Okay.
up. And unfortunately, today was the day to have that, you know, submitted as far as an application. But
Oh, wow.
if you would like to contact Erica Bloom at the Ecology Center,
Okay.
she may be able to help you get through a quick application for that. The application itself, as I understand it, is not difficult to fill out. And
Okay.
and you know, the other thing is if people don't know, you can also request through the state. There is a website that you can go on where you can request that the state test a water body. And I did that for one of our local areas, and they got back to me and said they had 500 requests for this year. And so they could not accommodate this year. And I asked them if they could automatically roll my request over to next year. And they said they could. So
Okay.
you might want to check on that. I will try to look up as well what that website is. Oh, is that it,
Okay.
Abby?
That's the website to report a foam sighting on our MPART. And I know we've got the other website around to ask for sampling of surface water, and we'll find it. Maybe
Okay.
Mike, Jerry, or Kelly can find it and get it to post it on. Do you know where it is, Kelly? If you can post it in the chat. There, you're right, Mary. There's a spot on the Eagle website to ask for your surface water body to be tested.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know the link off the top of my head, though.
And is that specifically for foam or just for them to come out and do a water
It'll be
test?
it'll be a surface water test. We don't test foam, but if you can give us the foam sightings, the more foam sightings we have on a particular lake, the more we're likely to go out and test the surface water and see if there's what's causing the foam or what is, if we have potential sources in the area that we don't realize. So,
because I'm really interested in getting the foam, because I got a little bit of the discussion about how the water nearby can contain negligible, but the foam can contain, you know, massive amounts. So that was kind of my goal, was to get that done. Is Erica Bloom with the Great Lakes PFAS Action Network?
She actually is with the Ecology Center.
The Ecology Center. Okay. What is
They're
that,
located in Ann Arbor.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
Yep.
Okay.
But if
Well,
you
thank
just
you so much.
Google Ecology Center, it'll come up.
Oh, perfect. Okay,
She's
thank
great
you. I
to work
appreciate
with.
it. Yeah.
Yep, she's great to work with.
Thank
and
you.
Lynn, check out this foam webpage on MPART's website, because there's a lot of, we did foam testing. So there
Yeah.
is that documentation out there, as well as the all of the other foam facts that you might want are on our webpage. So there's quite a bit there.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, a couple more things for me before I let you go for tonight. We are probably a few weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks away from putting our Great Lakes PFAS Summit live. We're still in the process of letting, if our people who submitted abstracts, let them know who's been selected and what the final lineup's going to look like. So we're still working on that, but it's coming. And as COG members here, you guys will all get free admittance into our it's a virtual conference for 3 days into the Great Lakes PFAS Summit. So you'll get more information as we go. We are working on updating all of our work group web pages, so you'll see more content. So we're hoping to get those updated here. Our goal is to try to get as much of it updated before the conference, which is December 5th. Trying to get everything updated before that point, because we get about 2,000 people who come to our Great Lakes PFAS Summit, and want to have everything fresh and spiffy. So last thing you guys might have noticed, I don't know if anybody saw this, but since we've been talking with MDARD today and we've been talking about farms and agriculture, there was an article that came out in the EPA Insider that DoD is sending notifications to farms. And so where they have military installations and they have farms that are in the immediate area of their installations, they are sending notifications. And so as we were looking, we noticed that we have 2 installations that are actually in Michigan that look like they have sent notifications. I followed up with some of my contacts in DoD. It does not look like they send those notifications to the state, so we were not completely aware that they had done this, but it is a requirement under what they call the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA. And so it's required under the NDAA. So we'll put a link to this in the chat. You guys can take a look if you're interested. But it did list K.I. Sawyer, and it did list the Grayling Army Air Base, or Army National Guard Base. And so we've, MDARD does a similar screening anytime we get a new MPART site. MDARD, our Department of Ag, does a screening, looks for all agricultural type related parcels or farms or whatever in the area around these military installations or any of our PFAS sites to make sure that we don't have any farms that are being affected or could be potentially affected by a PFAS groundwater plume or PFAS contamination. So it looks like DoD just sends out some sort of a, hey, this is, what we're in your area, just be aware type of a letter. So it looks like it's, the same type of thing that what we do with our PFAS screening as well with MDARD. So I didn't know if anybody would have any questions about that, but I thought I'd bring it up as an additional step that that DoD is taking to notify agricultural operations. There are many other states that are now getting these notices. You'll notice in there, Michigan's only got a short little list. There's some of the other states that have quite the long list. So if you've got any questions on that, we can talk about that as well. But Lynn, did you have another question or different question?
I did, and then I didn't. So, maybe the other Lynn. I'm sorry. Yep.
Lynn Knopf, your hand's up. Is it supposed to be
I'm
up?
sorry. I think I raised it like a couple times by accident. So it shouldn't be up. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Or maybe you were channeling your twin sister, Lynn, and you just raised your hand, right?
Yeah, the Lynn's.
The Lynn's have to raise their hands. So, Kelly, do we have another slide? Or is that it? And let me look at my list. It seems like there was one more thing. The only other thing is of note is most of you probably saw the notice on the Attorney General filing suit against the Grand Rapids Airport. So that was a hot topic that just came out yesterday. Hit the papers last night, and so don't have too much to say about that, but obviously that's we've continued to work with the airport as we have always done with all of our airports, and try to encourage them to take the necessary actions to protect their neighbors. So, Mary.
Yep, thank you, Abby. I forgot to share my information regarding our Holly area in my updates at the very beginning, and I would like to do that. As you know, back in early 2023, the agencies contacted the Village of Holly and told them that they were going to hold a town hall for our residents in March or April of 2023. And I asked during the February meeting of the COG to Abby to make sure that our municipalities had plenty of time to notify our residents, and she assured me that she would. And so in March 22, the Save Falk Road Committee did request of Eagle and multiple people that we have been in contact with that they would hold the town hall, but also requested that they do an all agency and division department meeting dealing with all of the water issues throughout all of the Holly area, because we have the documentation showing that these were very concerning back from the 80s and 90s. And Eagle Management denied that meeting, and we were still waiting on hearing about the town hall. And so I had contacted the site lead recently and had asked her about that. I said, I'd like to confirm, oh, I'm sorry. Let's see, how does it start? I'm sending this email to all of you based on the prior request to send the emails and communications to all, so we're all on the same page. Could you please share the current amount of remaining funding for the 2023 $200,000 state of Michigan allocation for the Falk Road dump? And also, could you share when the work plan for the 2023 will be available? In reading the recommendations section of the consultant's report, there appears to be much that is still not known regarding the Falk Road dump site. The potential risks to groundwater, surface water, aquatic life, and especially neighboring residents remain. Learning the plume of contamination and stopping the runoff of contaminated water, soil, and air to neighboring properties and nearby lakes is vital. This has been expressed multiple times, including the MPART Eagle MDHHS Town Hall in May of 2021. We're still waiting on hearing when the town hall will be held. I understand from Abby at that time that this meeting will be virtual and only deal with PFAS related information. And let's see here. I heard back. Hi, Mary. Attached is the approved 2023 work plan. WSP Consulting will soon start determining appropriate locations for installing groundwater monitoring wells for groundwater sampling. I would anticipate groundwater sampling this year, determining the conceptual site model in 2024. Once an updated conceptual site model is available, MPART will hold a virtual town hall to share the findings of the PFAS groundwater monitoring efforts and investigation efforts at the Falk Road dump. So on Monday, August 14th, I copied my response to the MPART team as well as the site lead. I would like to confirm my understanding of your email. There will be no MPART Eagle MDHHS Town Hall for Holly, Michigan residents until 2024, 3 years after the last town hall for Holly, Michigan in May 2021. The proposed work plan for 2023 will be for installing more monitoring wells on the Falk Road dump, in addition to the 30+ monitoring wells already present on the dump. Questions. Has Eagle determined the plume of contamination, or will that be part of the CSM due in 2024? Of the $300,000 allocated by the state of Michigan in 2022 and 2023 for the Falk Road dump, will any of that funding be used to control contaminated runoff from the dump onto neighboring properties and down to Rice Lake? We appreciate the work and funding that has been given toward the dump, but the protection of people, water, and the environment needs to take precedence over continued installation and study of monitoring wells. Thank you. And here's the last response we got on 8/23. Hi, Mary, confirming that the entire $300,000 allocated for 2022 and 2023 will be used toward drilling and constructing permanent monitoring wells on the Falk Road dump property, then collecting data and preparing a conceptual site model. Our consultant walked the site yesterday, and we will be discussing placement of the monitoring wells soon. Then comes the scheduling a drilling company, then drilling, collecting soil sample, constructing groundwater monitoring wells. Then after the monitoring wells develop, our consultant samples the groundwater and sends to a lab for analysis. Sample collection is typically done for 4 quarters to account for seasonable groundwater fluctuation. But since we have some data from past seasons, 4 quarters may or may not be needed or collected. Then we will evaluate all data, write the CSM report, then distribute the CSM report to stakeholders. Eagle certainly hopes that these activities will delineate the contamination plume and determine the potential fate and transport of contaminants. But we will let the data tell us the story first. Then we will write the story in the CSM to share with the community. If further delineation is needed in any direction and state funds are further allocated, then Eagle would step out and sample farther along the contaminant plume. That is to be determined at this year's work. So yes, it is realistic to expect, after the logistics I described, to acquire a robust data set, then writing and presenting a CSM to happen in 2024. Three years after our only town hall. I'm sorry. I'm going to take inspiration from some of our COG members, Tony, Sandy, Lynn McIntosh, Teresa Lambert, and others. And we'll move on. We're going to see what's next on the agenda. So
Okay, I see Stacy's got her hand up.
I hope she can join us. Stacy. Did you unmute? I know you have problems with this every time you try to join in.
It says
We left
she's
something in
unmuted.
the.
Until Stacy is able to join or that, does anybody have any topics that they would like to see covered in future? Or does anybody else have any updates for their area that they need to bring up? Connie.
Yes, Mary, I'm sort of just like you here in Wayne County, where we have the most landfills in the state. I am still waiting for 4 to 6 pages from Waste Management's North Landfill, which is unlined, Waste Management's South Landfill, which is unlined, and the current landfill, which has 2 cells unlined. I'm waiting to see just some very basic data. Where was samples collected? Show me a map so I can see where the samples were collected. Give me a chain of custody and let me see a table of the results. I, like you, have been asking for this data since March, and I still don't have it. Well, it isn't just me anymore. It's the Wayne County Health Department is interested in it too. So I would like to get somebody in MPART, in Eagle, to provide the data, which is not rocket science by any stretch of the imagination. So that's where I am, Mary.
And
Thanks, Connie. Lynn.
Yeah, I was going to, well, you know, it's a tough place to be in, you know, for whatever reasons there are. It could be a company or a town, like, and that's how it was in Rockford here, and agencies, whatever. It's a hard road, but keep moving forward. And but the main thing I wanted to say was I just ideas for the next meeting topics.
Okay.
I noticed that you had sent a copy of the letter out from the prior meeting, that the COG member only meeting,
Right.
and there were some topics that I thought that were going to be discussed tonight, and maybe we could discuss them at the next meeting. But I think that it would be very good to take a look at the subcommittees and decide, as was brought up at this meeting, are they, you know, are these, what about the meeting times? Very basic. Are these good times or not good times for people to meet? And then have the topics changed or gravitated in any new directions? So I think it'd be a wise thing to do that.
Yeah, we did have definite discussions regarding the subcommittees, but I think that the thought is we're going to have the second meeting and
I see.
make decisions. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
You know, see
I
how
wasn't
that
clear on
meeting
that.
goes, since some people were not able to attend the first meeting that
Okay.
expressed that
All
they
right.
had interest. So we're going to try for the second meeting, and hopefully we'll get, you know, equal or more members joining in, so we can get lots of input.
Okay. All right. That's great. Thanks for clarifying that.
No problem.
That was okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So it looks like Stacy in the chat had several things come up. And I know she has expressed this to me too, is that the only meeting that she has problems to actually get her microphone to work is the COG meeting. Not for any other Teams meeting or any other. It's just the COG. So if anybody has any suggestions or that, could you let us or somebody in MPART know or whatever?
I will call Stacy tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
And see what I can do. I have no idea.
Okay.
But it's hard for me to see her technology from my desk, but I will absolutely do my best.
Okay. The other thing that I'm looking at is the current, as in the work that was done in 2022. There was a boring that was done that was left unsealed, and they covered it. Stacy and her neighbor covered it with a board and had advised the site lead, but as far as they know, it's still unsealed. So she's going to confirm.
okay. Yeah, I definitely reach out to the site lead and let's make sure that gets taken care of, especially if she's got more drilling going on. They should be able to take care of that while they're out there.
Okay. All right, does anybody last call for topics for future meetings?
Hey, Mary, just this is Connie, just a quick question. The unsealed boring, was that done by an Eagle contractor or by Eagle itself?
A contractor.
That contractor should be fired.
Yeah, well, I think we'll have to have the site lead look into it to see what's going on with that one. So Stacy, if you'll make sure you reach out to the site lead, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining in, and thank you to Jared for his information, and to Brad for their sharing, and Tammy and Tyler. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, and we'll see everybody at the next meeting.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Yeah.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Mary. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thanks.
You too, Lynn. Bye.
Bye-bye.